We'll have the invocation by St. James Cumberland Presbyterian Church Pastor Rodney Dunn. The Pledge of Allegiance will be provided by Commissioner Gilbert, and we are pleased to have him back from his illness. Please stand.
Father, it's good again to be able to come down and pray over this wonderful county. See a lot of new faces here, which I'm glad about. We understand there's a melting pot going on all around the world. But we thank you, Father, that you're being able to merge together, do what's best for Bradley County. We're asking, Father, that you give them all guidance and wisdom, everything they do today, Father. They're kind of your hands, your eyes for the county, and I thank you for blessing them in that kind of way. We ask for your divine grace and your divine purpose over their lives. And we thank you, Father, for sharing your blessings over them. We ask all this in the wonderful, mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have such a large audience, I'm going to be able to recognize, I think, everyone. We'll have Ms. Gleason here on the left, Planning Commission Chairman Richard Burnett, along with former Chairman and present member Lake Mantooth, Director of Schools Dr. Cash, and her Financial Director Susan Wilcutt. We'll now have the roll call, please.
Blake.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Gilbert.
Present.
Thompson. Goins. Slater. Mason.
Here.
Ledford.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Winters.
Here.
Beatty.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Here.
It's 11 present and 3 absent.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion now for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Josh, Commissioner Rogers on the first and the second, Commissioner Hughes. Call the roll, please.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 11 in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent.
Mr. Lewis, you have anything for the mayor, please? Okay, we'll now go down to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for the approval of consent agenda. Commissioner Mason and Commissioner Ledford on the second. Okay, discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 11 in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent.
We'll now go to the reports from the committees and or districts. We'll start on our right with Commissioner Beck, please.
Everything's doing pretty well in the first district, and I'm glad to see Scotty's back with us too.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing today. I will make one correction. Like Mantooth, he's also the vice chair of the Planning Commission.
He's Demetrius forever.
I'm sorry.
mentioned it.
I heard.
I'm just pulling
No, I
you
thought
like.
they said he was on the Planning Commission.
Is that all, sir? Commissioner Alford.
Yes, two things. Nothing in the second's all fine. I do have a couple of guests here. I'd like to have them against my better judgment. Sometimes I've always said don't bring guests on voting sessions, but I think this is very important that we do. So I'd like to have them come up and do a presentation. We can either do it after committee reports or whenever you choose to do it.
If we could, let's go through the agenda and then get them unlimited time at the end. Would that be all right?
That'd be all right with me.
Okay, very fine. Is that all, sir? Commissioner Blake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. Mr. Chairman, Murray County Representative Scotty Chepesky, apologize. Chepesky, better get his name right. Introduced House Bill 1629 to return to counties half of the encumbered revenue from the recordation tax for school debt and school capital projects. You can see on the spreadsheet provided that fiscal year to date, Bradley County has collected over $2 million with this tax, which is a significant amount of revenue. I think we all agree Bradley County's population growth is putting a strain on our school system. House Bill 1629, if passed, could help alleviate this pressure by providing funds to expand classrooms where needed. You see the letter right here, and that first paragraph, I will read that real quick, Mr. Chairman. Bradley County Commission applauds your efforts, this is written to the representative, your efforts in helping Tennessee counties accommodate the needs of their students. We recently created the Population Trends Ad Hoc Committee to undertake a capacity study which concluded Bradley County's growth exceeds the state's growth average of 2%, and determined most of all of our schools are in need, are at excess seating capacity. This unprecedented growth has a negative impact on our schools. What I understand, this bill passed one of the committees and is now waiting funding. So hopefully the Finance Committee of the House side can find that funding. And you, as I said here, you can look at the spreadsheet. This is worth over $2 million, and if 50% of that's going to come back, that will help our school systems with their capital projects. So this letter, I talked to the representative last week. This letter will help him as he pushes his bill through the committees and eventually on the House floor. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I place this letter in the form of a motion. Thank you.
I'll have a second, please. Got a second from Commissioner Collins, open for discussion. Yes, Mr. Collins.
I'll just piggyback on what Commissioner Blake said. This is, essentially, this is Bradley County money. I mean, so, you know, this is Bradley County money that's leaving our system, going to Nashville, and has the opportunity to return to support school capital projects. And, you know, as this is a funding body, it will alleviate, or to a degree, it'll help spell some of the burden from this body of providing for those capital, or providing funding for those capital projects. So it is definitely a bill that I would say we need to support, and I would encourage the conversations that not just members of this body have, but members of our community with their legislatures to express their support for this bill. Again, it's something that I think goes before the Finance Committee of the House. The fiscal note on it, I believe, is one of the concerns. The note on is $105 million. So that's what the state projects will cost them. I will add, just aside, the governor's private school bailout bill, as I like to call it, the fiscal note on that is $144 million. So I think this would be an excellent use of $105 million as opposed to $144 million. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very much. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, when you have a real estate transaction and you record it at the Registry of Deeds, there's a tax on it, and in some cases, substantial tax. Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Blake?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Goins?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Beatty?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Alford?
Yes.
Cry?
Yes,
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, with that, I want to thank Register Deeds, Ms. Swafford, and Missy Matthews for their help in compiling that data. All those numbers that you see there over in their office there, they compiled those numbers and got them over to us. As you can see, the average is about $350,000 a month. So I appreciate their help in this. Second, Mr. Chairman, I ask that we remember the family of former District Commissioner, 3rd District Commissioner Brian Smith and Bradley County Trustee Mike Smith. Their mother, Virginia Smith, passed away on Thursday. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Smith family at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one thing to echo the support for the loss of Brian and Mike's mother, and also express my condolences to the Joe Spencer family. Coach Spencer passed away last night, and those of you that know Joe and know his family, he's touched a lot of people, not just in Bradley County schools, but throughout our community. A great man. I think he was 83 years old, but Joe was a dear friend of mine and somebody that I really counted on over the past few years. So condolences to him and his wife, or to his wife Charlotte, and their loss. I have nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Winters, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did not know Joe Spencer passed. I knew he was ill. Joe with David Lewis was right and left arm for me at Bradley Junior High School. Joe Spencer took care of bus duty early in the morning. I needed to do a few other things, but had great spirit about him and a great energy level. And as he's passed, he lived every day of his life to the fullest. And I'm sorry to hear that loss. A great community leader. 60 Highway is moving along. I can hear them at about 2 o'clock in the morning as they're doing the west lane, as they're actually leveling the west lane out to east lane, where the side I live on is pretty well put together. But that is moving forward. Please be careful as you're driving through there, particularly during school times. Those lines get pretty long. It might be a good time to pick up your kids a little later than you normally do and give some time. But thanks, Cleveland Middle School has done a great job coordinating with the neighbors. People stop when we pull into our ready to access that highway and let us through, whether we're going east or whether we're going west. So they're great folks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Gilbert.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for the prayers. Man, prayers work. And just all the thoughts and phone calls, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Rogers, Tommy, for coming to see me. And I sure do appreciate everybody. I have nothing from North.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Mason, please.
Chairman, everything's well in the 6th District. I would like to invite all the commissioners out for Thursday at 1 p.m. Come out to the road department. We're going to look at some equipment and have our meeting down at the road department on Thursday. So y'all come out and see Tom Collins and see what all the new equipment and stuff we bought for them. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Love. I'll back up a little bit here. I didn't see Commissioner Goins slip in on me here. Commissioner Goins.
This district soon well, we're trying to figure out which side road to take to go around Inman Street.
Wait about 2 years, you
yeah.
might find out.
Yeah, there's a couple of roads down here that's take you around it. That's all I have.
Commissioner Ledford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one item, Mr. Chairman. I've had several calls from different constituents all over Bradley County about the Cleveland Community Center not being opened on Saturdays. Since Rita retired, they've not opened it up on Saturdays. I got with Tom Cassida and Joe Fivas. They're going to work on a solution for that. They're going to have to hire somebody else to get that thing open back up on Saturdays. Just a quick note, when my boys were small, that's where they learned to play basketball, is over at the Cleveland Community Center on Saturdays, because that's the only day I had. There's no other gym. Now, the gym on Mosby Park there, or College Hill, everybody calls it, is open on Saturdays. But back in the day, that's the only place you had to go. And basically today, that's the only place, unless you know someone with keys to a gym. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, the 6th District is doing real well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, we had a issue with a family member. My grandfather, many of you know, has been sick for a really long time and has had a medical emergency last week where he actually passed out. And just wanted to really thank Chief Guerin and Bradley County EMS. They came out and took care of him and transported him to our local hospital here at Tenova. And we were up there for about 4 days last week, in and out, and staying there overnight. And so doing a lot better, but just the timely manner and the extra care and everything that Bradley County EMS did for our family last week was very much appreciated, and actually ended up coming and checking on him throughout the week as well. So they just do an unbelievably great job. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. We'll now entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
Move.
Commissioner Goins, Commissioner Winters. Open for discussion. Commissioner Blake.
Mr. Chairman, I need to remove item B off the agenda. It's not relevant anymore. They captured the guy that we were putting that award for, so it's not needed at this time. So if you'll remove that off the agenda, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is removed. We'll go now to agenda item A, Vice Chairman Bill
We
Winters.
gotta call the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need, no more discussion. We'll have a vote. Please call the roll.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Agenda item A, Vice Chairman Bill Winters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is an outgrowth of our sale of surplus property. The resolution is adding to the Bradley County surplus property procedure a requirement that signage be placed on property deemed surplus and offered for sale during the time period that Bradley County is accepting bids for the surplus property. Place this in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Collins on the second. We're now open for discussion, please.
I think that's one of the best things that you come up with. I mean, that is really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion, please? It's amazing what you get done when you don't care who gets the credit.
That's exactly
All right.
Whoever gets it, gets it.
All right, let's call the roll, please.
Yes.
Blake. Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you very much. We'll now go back to Commissioner Alford, and the reason I asked that it be placed at the end, I didn't know the length of the presentation and keep everything organized going around. It's now your nickel there, Commissioner Alford.
A short meeting anyway. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I brought up this land use, plan and how it was being used and everything, and I was asking if we could do a moratorium on it, but, come find out we can't. So, in other words, I've asked, Mr. Lake and Richard come in and, give us some explanations and talk about what the planning commission's up to right now and maybe make some suggestions of where we need to go from here. So, floor is y'all's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Alford, thank you for the opportunity. As you know, the Bradley County Planning Commission has been using the comprehensive plan and the future land use requirements and regulations as kind of our Bible. And I was under the impression that that had been accepted and voted on and put in by the county commission, and a couple of weeks ago found out that it has not. So we have two different things. We've been following this, either approving or denying based off of this use plan. And what we're asking for is for the county commission to give us some guidance and direction. Do we continue to use this as our Bible, as our rules and regulations, and how we vote, whether to approve or deny? And we're looking for guidance from you guys and some suggestions as how do you want us to continue? Do you guys want to do a study? This is the last adoption date on this is February 11th, 2014. So it's been some time since it's been modified, and obviously a lot of things have changed. And we're looking for some guidance and help from the commission.
County Attorney, I would like to make some comments, but I don't know if it's appropriate as chairman. Can I?
Yes, you can. You just would need to hand the chairmanship over temporarily to your vice chair so that you can make your comments. So you certainly can.
Thank you. Temporarily handing it over. There's the gavel. You can knock me out with it. Okay. I've had the pleasure of being chairman of the Planning Commission, also a member. The land use study was instrumental in all the decision making while I was there. The concern I have is that if we bring it up to the commission and we approve it as a document by the commission, it then restricts the commission to override a recommendation to some degree, override it from the planning commission. I personally think that it should be retained in the planning commission as a working document. Somebody needs to get a hold of the planner to get the thing updated if appropriate, but it needs to stay within the planning commission. My comments. Now can I back to you? Know. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, former chairman, and now back to chairman. Thank you.
Any other remarks? This is what wide open. It's very important to the citizens of Bradley County. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I was going to suggest if Mr. Mantooth had anything to say. Because he's been on the planning commission a long time.
I've been on it for a long time, but I too thought that this had been adopted by the county commission also. Our most objective is to be on the same page as y'all. We don't care if you voted in, we don't care if you voted out, we just want to know where we are. But our position today is if we don't allow rezoning, and then there's another piece of property that's y'all override our decision to object it, and then it opens us up for a lawsuit. What do you think, Crystal?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think where some of the confusion has come on this is the concept of zoning versus the concept of planning. I've got a really good case, and there's a lot in it, and I can certainly send that to Lori so you all can read through it about the distinction between the two different things. But I'll just read a little bit for you. Zoning and planning are complementary pursuits that are largely concerned with the same subject matter. They are not, however, identical. And it goes on in this case to talk about how planning involves coordinating the orderly development of interrelated aspects of a community's physical environment. In the case, they go on, and actually this case is a dispute between the Planning Commission and the County Commission, believe it or not. They said in this case, though, that zoning is the territorial division of land for a particular use, and zoning is basically the purview of the County Commission, ultimately exclusively. Now, the Planning Commission makes recommendations on that, but it does talk about, in this case, about how plans are typically in the purview of the Planning Commission. And so it talks about the distinction between those two things, and I'm reading directly from this. The zoning power is squarely placed in the hands of the local legislative body because the power to rezone is viewed as essentially a legislative exercise of function. Local legislative bodies may enact zoning plans recommended by the Planning Commission, but they are not obligated to. So essentially, when you look at it, the way the law is written, the Planning Commission, any planning document starts with them, and you all can or cannot choose to adopt those plans. I think a lot of the confusion comes in with the growth plan. Growth plans have to be adopted by the County Commission, but that's where you agree between cities and counties how you're going to grow. It's different from a planning document such as the one that we're talking about here. So in order to start this process, in my opinion at least, the Planning Commission needs to start over. I mean, essentially do it the same way you did originally, which is you look at your plan, you usually hire somebody because there's not anybody in-house that has the ability to really look at the plan, develop a plan. And whether we need to change it or not, I don't know, but I do agree that it's not been looked at since 2014. And the chairman's comments are correct that you as a body, there are some legal benefits and disadvantages of you all adopting any land use plan that the Planning Commission might recommend. So we can certainly talk about that, and there's certainly some benefits, and some communities do go ahead and have the County Commission adopt the plan. Others don't. So you all don't have to, but you can. So that's the general law on it and how it works. So certainly the process could be started by asking the Planning Commission to take a look at this, and also the mayor's office to look at how much it's going to cost to get someone to study our plan and tell us whether or not it needs to be revised.
Okay. Well, we all know we need to revise it because nobody can see the growth that we're getting and the growth that we're going to get. So obviously it does need to be revised. So could we ask and figure out how we can get this done and revised, and maybe y'all appoint an ad hoc committee to meet with us and I'll try to figure out how to get on the same page.
With that being said, and listening to our lawyer and Mr. Mantooth both, I'd like to make a motion, if it's possible, Chairman,
Go ahead, sir.
that request the mayor and planning commission take all the necessary steps, including procuring services of land use planning professionals as needed to begin the process of reviewing and updating, if necessary, the land use plan for Bradley County. And what I'd also like to recommend that the Building and Land Committee meet with Planning Commission to discuss any needs and to review the land use plan. This is what we should be doing once every year, and it hadn't been done in X number of years either. Come to find out, I don't know that it's ever been done.
No.
So this would get it started. You know, I'm not asking to review the whole concept and go out here and spend $100,000 or so to do it. I think we can do a lot of it in-house with the Building and Land and the Planning Commission meeting and going through what we need to do and any elements or supplements that we need to put on the land use plan. So I'd like to put that in the form of a motion, sir.
Have a second, please. Commissioner Rogers on the second. Open for discussion, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Because the agenda is closed, you all, in order to vote on something that wasn't on the agenda, you all will have to vote to suspend your rules in order to do that. So you'll need to do that first, if you want to vote on it today.
Need to vote on it today. What do I have to do to suspend the rules?
Somebody would need to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Still takes 10 votes.
Would take 10 votes, yes.
Someone, Commissioner or Alford?
Yes, I will make that motion that we suspend the rules and do the voting today, if
Commissioner
possible.
Rogers on the second. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Goins,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ledford,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
That's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Now, we had a motion, and who was the second? What, Commissioner Rogers was the second. Any discussion on Commissioner Alford's motion?
Yes, I would like to ask Ms. Laurie to try to get a meeting between the Land Committee and the Planning Commission, and whenever they both can get together at some convenient date. It doesn't have to be done immediately, but I think we need to start the process.
Probably be a good idea if we can get it done jointly with your planning commission meeting, Blake.
That'd be fine. Like I say, our concern is doing the best we can for this county and being on the same page with y'all. That's our most concern.
We must be doing something right. We're growing like a wildfire
We are.
here.
We are.
Any more discussion, please?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Winters.
As we do this, I'm for this, but I think we've got to remember that each of us have constituents. And anytime this comes through this process, we've lived with 2 of them now, where once we move forward or think we're moving forward, constituents from our various groups have real concerns about it for their own private properties. So we have a challenge here of how we support private property. Whose property do we support? Is it the person that's been there for 50 years, or is it the new entrepreneur that's wanting to develop in that section? And it meets the planning committee's role, but then it comes to us. And public thinks many times that we're going against y'all, but in reality, we're dealing with constituents here. That's the real crux of our great challenges here, is which personal property do we support? Those in our district that want to keep it for 50 years, or that's been a part of their family and all the stuff that we're into, or look at the progress that needs to be happening. So that's where you all help us with the planning part. They meet all that together. But I think I'm supporting that ultimately it comes back to a elected body like us that represent the constituents and come up with a consensus on what we agree to. So I'm hoping that's always in the package, that the public has an opportunity to see at least a majority of this commission. Maybe they don't agree with every, I mean, we've had decisions that you've been a part of, as a builder, that you were caught in the middle of that. We were caught in the middle of that. But what is the best at that point? But we signed up for this job, and we're strong enough to do it. But should always be into that.
Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to back up a little bit and say that if anyone has ever listened to whenever I do a recommendation or what have you for planning or for planning for rezoning, I typically try to say the same thing over, and it's changed a little bit over time. But if you've noticed lately, I'll say the Bradley County Regional Planning Commission unanimously voted either to accept or not accept the recommendation, or accept or not accept a recommendation to rezone the property. It's always recommendation. I've always said that all the way through, because up here is the original, you're the ones that do the zoning, not the planning. We just make a recommendation. We, as Chairman Burnett said, use the guidelines as a Bible. Those guidelines to me should be similar here also, just to have the uniformity, to have it all the same. There shouldn't be different rules for one group than it should be the other, in my personal belief. But I will support this meeting just so we can bring up some of these issues. Thank you.
Any other discussion, please? Commissioner Ledford.
Jim, I just have one question. Mr. Mantooth or Richard, I know Mel Griffith is still on the planning commission. I'm sure he's put a lot of input in on this. Is that correct?
Yes.
I highly respect Mel Griffith's knowledge of this, and if anybody we want to listen to for sure, it would be Mel Griffith. So that's my only point there. Thank you.
He's my second cousin.
He's a great guy.
He is.
Commissioner Blake, please. Any other discussion?
One other thing I would like to say, Chairman, is, our goal and what we try to do is look at the property. Does the property qualify for what they ask for? That's our achievement. We don't take it personal just because I like you and I want you to have this. That doesn't come into play in my decision. My decision is, does the property qualify? And if it doesn't qualify, then I'm against it. And what we're taking this growth plan, you want to call it, or whatever you want to call it, that's what we do. We look at the zoning in that manner. Does that property qualify or does it not? And we've turned down some, and we've had some controversy, but the reason we're really here is we know it's going to get worse, so we want to head it off. That's our thinking. We want to head this off. We're going to have more growth. We'll have more controversy. But every time we have a meeting, we post, what's going to happen on the rezoning. The property's posted, and the property owners adjoining that are welcome to come to our meeting, and we give them 5 minutes to air their story, whichever way they are. But basically, we look at the property. Does it qualify?
Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I just confirm, we're looking at the land use plan, not the growth plan, correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Both have been said, so I just want to make sure that it's just the land use plan.
Fortunately, they've been interchangeable a couple of times.
Yeah.
Commissioner Collins.
And this, I've asked this before, we have 2 land use plans.
Yes.
And that's, I think, a big issue.
Yes.
This one says 2011, but it's really clearly defined, and it's a great map, and it's a great resource. This one says 2013, and it's terrible. I'm not being mean or anything, but you just can't discern it. A citizen couldn't pull it up, and it's buried within our growth plan, the 80-page document. So I love the idea, and I think this is a great conversation to have. It's a huge conversation to have. I think I appreciate what Commissioner Hughes said about the guardrails and the guide rails, and nothing else for our citizens. We're not gonna make everybody happy,
No.
but I think if you establish those guide rails and everybody knows the playing field, then I think that makes it equitable for the most influential person in our county and the least influential. And that's what we want, is that equity of access for
that's
those
where we're at.
individuals. So if the commission knows the rules, if the planning commission knows the rules, then I think your citizens can know the rules. And then it takes a little bit of the popularity contest out, right?
Right.
You know, it's not just one citizen that's complaining or 20 citizens that's complaining or 500. So thank you for doing this. I think there's a lot of wisdom in this. Thank you.
Commissioner Winter.
That's great points here, what's been shared. But we need to make sure that communication happens, that people can share their concerns before the decisions are made. You know, when the decisions are made, and it's tough to get that communication out. That's a job of the different media to get that out. Signs we're trying to do here. But if these major decisions, and you're exactly right, they're going to be bigger, they're going to be even more challenging. How we meet the progress of this community and people that love where they live and want to stay there. You know, we have a 5-lane going in front of our house. There's not one person that I know that was against that. Because that's progress. We buy that. But we've had to deal with 2 years. We got another year and a half to finish up. But in that whole deal, there needs to be a way to ensure that everybody knows. And then when people voice their opinion after the fact, kind of tough for us to deal with, and it's tough for you all to deal with too. So the more we can do that, and maybe that's going through each district, so the district knows how to, we start sharing some of that stuff. But the communication is a major challenge. Thank you.
What we do is the planner post a sign for rezoning, and that's how the community members see that signs up like 7 to 10 days before we ever have a meeting, and it's amazing how many calls we get. I mean, it really is before. I mean, y'all get them too, but it's amazing how many calls we get, and a lot of times you can satisfy what their questions is just by giving them, you know, what we think we want to do. You know, they're good with it, but they do want to know, and we do communicate with them. Ron gets 1 million calls, but everybody's worried about, you know, I don't want a dog pound in my yard, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. It's not about the property or the community. It's about me, and that's what we deal with.
But one other thing is, many times they don't know what's going in there exactly,
Right.
and they get upset about it, like you just mentioned the dog thing. Most people don't know what's going to be built there. It's going to be $1 million building. Wouldn't you like to have $1 million building in your property? Most people would like to have that. But that's what is projected in the project that we're still looking at.
Anyone else? Blake?
I'm good.
All right.
Like I say, our concern is and wants is to communicate better and be on the same page.
Current Chairman Richard. You agree? You need back to Commissioner Alford.
That's all I had today. I appreciate Blake and Richard coming, and
Got to vote.
oh, we hadn't voted on the motion.
No, we've done a lot of discussion, no voting yet. We'll get down to nitty gritty here. End of discussion. Call the roll, please.
Blake.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Goins.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Beatty.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Cry.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Alford?
I think I've done enough today.
I won't comment on that. Commissioner Blake, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now that we've finished with the land use plan, I'd like to pivot over to the land growth plan real quick. I know they're totally two different things, but Crystal, here's my question. I hope I form it correctly. The city has accepted some applications for annexation outside of the growth plan. As we all know, it's been in the paper, and I think it's ongoing right now. And the reason why they're doing that, if this is in the form of a question, is because they are outside of the agreed upon between the city of Charleston, the city of Cleveland, and Bradley County growth plan. They had to do a vote in order to get an annexation. In other words, they couldn't do an interlocal agreement like they've done previously because it was outside of the growth plan. Is that correct or incorrect?
I certainly can't speak for the city's motivations, however.
I'm thinking from a legal,
yeah,
legal point of view. The reason why they had to do it this way
The
is,
only way you can go outside of the growth plan is if you do annexation by referendum.
but could they have sent it over with an interlocal agreement?
No,
So they had to do it this way. And
if they want to go outside of the
if
growth
they
plan.
wanted to go, and they've chosen to do that, that's fine.
Yes.
But if it was inside of the growth plan, like we've done before, the interlocal agreements, could they elect to send that to a vote to the people?
Yes.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to communication from the,
Chairman, I had one other thing. I had asked Crystal the other day, you keep hearing the term in Washington, you keep hearing it in the state, you keep hearing it everywhere. I asked her to look up at a good definition of a hypocrite the other day, and I wanted a lawyer's word on what a hypocrite is.
You did ask me that, and from my looking at it, there is not a legal definition of hypocrite, so you would be stuck with the dictionary definition of that, which you certainly can look up, but that is a person who is behaves a certain way and is dishonest about what they say versus what they do. That is a general definition, but there is not a legal definition of that.
Thank you. I'm through.
we'll now go to communication from the audience. Anyone from the audience would like to speak? You have 5 minutes if you do.
I researched this annexation pretty deep, and I don't know if everybody knows or not, but there's only 3 people votes on this referendum. The city votes, the state votes, and the property owner votes, and that's all that's required. But every time in the past, whenever annexation, you know, we as a builders, home builders association, you know, we got the annexation stopped here a while back. Then they come up with this resolution that you got to touch the city 50 foot in order to get the sewer. And every time they get out of bounds, they seem to cover their tracks. All they're doing is to me, is spot zoning. That's the way I look at it. They're spot zoning whenever they go out and get these properties. And whenever they get one, then the adjoining ones can follow in. So they're looking to grow 4,000 or 5,000 acres where they've got the spots listed right now.
Mm.
So, I mean, we're going to lose county. Is what we're going to lose.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Blake.
That's a good point, in that when a parcel or a piece of property is annexed through whatever method, whatever, outside the growth plan, and it's non-continuous, then that property becomes, I guess, the catalyst for other properties adjacent to it for annexation, and that does not have to come to the county commission or be voted on. This is just the city. So you got parcel out there, XYZ, and it's not continuous with the city. You're gonna have to leave the city, go into the county, then back into the city, and the parcels around that, adjacent to it, are subject to being annexed without any type of vote or interlocal agreement? Or is it that one particular parcel that was annexed?
Well, as long as the property is non-contiguous and outside of the growth plan, the only way the city can go through the annexation process is to go through the referendum process, which requires the property owner to request it, and then they go through the referendum process. If it's non-contiguous and in the growth boundary, they can do it either way. They can either go through the referendum process or they can come to you all with an interlocal agreement. The only time you all have any say, I guess would be the word I would use, in the annexation is if it's through interlocal agreement process. If they do it through referendum, now they do have to send a copy of it to the mayor, which they do, just saying this is what we plan to do, but there is no vote, there is no approval that you all do or do not do if they go through the referendum process.
Right, and that point we just talked about a few seconds ago in the methodology, if you will, of how it gets done. But I just want to make sure I understand. You have a piece of property outside of the growth plan and outside of the city. and that parcel or that piece of land gets annexed, whatever method, but in this case, it would have to be voted on, right? So it becomes now part of the city of Cleveland or city of Charleston. My question, I guess, is the parcels or the pieces of land around that are touched, it's now touching the city, or those pieces of land that are now touching or continuous with that little island, for the better lack of the word, is that now is that considered continuous with that piece, or the whole city of Cleveland or Charleston altogether?
It's, as a practical matter, it doesn't matter, because as long as it's outside of the growth plan, you're still gonna have to go through the referendum, so it really is irrelevant. There's some argument, I think, both ways, but yes, it would probably be then considered contiguous.
But right
because
now,
it touches the city limits.
this is, I think, a very important point, in the sense that right now, if there's a piece of property that's touching or continuous with the city of Cleveland, interlocal agreement or voting is not necessary. They did that out on Michigan Avenue, a lot of it. The city just agreed to accept the application. It was annexed, and it never came as an interlocal agreement or a voting. So that's what I'm asking is, does this new piece of city now count as continuous with any piece of property around it?
I don't think so, because you're out, keep in mind, you're outside of the growth
That's
boundary.
a very important point, because like he was alluding to is you start these little islands out there, and then they're going to grow, and continuous meets continuous meets continuous.
Well, they still can if they go through the referendum process.
Yeah. But they would have to. The other point is that, just to elaborate on what you said a few moments ago, is if it's not part of the growth plan, which is what they're doing right now, the method that they're doing with voting is what has to happen. If it's inside of the growth plan, they can choose.
Correct.
So I guess we could obviously as a commission say from here on out, and it's just me talking, that's the way that the city needs to go, is to do this through elections and not send any more interlocal agreements over. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Commissioner Winters and then Commissioner Hughes, please.
Am I right, Counselor, that one person and his wife can be the total population that moves that resolution for annexation?
Yes.
Referendum.
You can certainly, the referendum could be as big as, if you have 10 property owners that were requesting, and they were all together, and they were all outside of the growth boundary, the city chose to do it that way. It would be, the voters in the referendum are those who are affected by the annexation, which are the property owners in the annexation. So yes, if it's one property with one property owner, those would be the eligible voters for that referendum.
And then one property owner in the county can pull the city, all the city services, all the city infrastructure, all that they need there, correct?
Yes, but the city would have to agree to that. I mean, the city can't, the property owner can't force the city to do it. The city would have to agree to send that through referendum and agree to provide those services.
That's why we have city and county school buses passing each other all day long out here. Commissioner Hughes, please.
I think you touched on one of the questions I had. One of them was about services. I know once the city annexes, then that's part of their service. They take care of it. But who is responsible for notifying all these county departments that now it's been annexed in? And I'll give you an example. There in 911 Center, there was a location on Durkee Road that was annexed in the city many, many years ago that I know the county sheriff's department took care of calls for years without even knowing any different. And 911 was literally sending our patrol out that area. So who's responsible for that?
I can certainly see how it's a problem. The city is, though, legally required to provide notice to the county of their intent and what they're doing through annexation. So once they do that, I think it would be, they have to provide the services. I think at that point it would be incumbent upon us to get notification out to all of our departments that that's not within the county any longer.
So that would be the county's responsibility to notify the 911 Center and let them update their maps?
I don't think
is
it's the
that
county's
city?
responsibility to notify the 911 center. I do think that's on the list of things that the city has to notify when they send out the notices. There's a list of people they have to notify, including the county mayor, of their annexation.
And my last question, if they don't do that, and the county still gives those services, who is responsible for back pay on all that?
Probably nobody.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert, please.
I just got one question. So if they annex it out there, how many years do they have before they supposed to get them electricity and water and sewer and everything, all the city amenities?
They have to put in place, in order to annex, a plan of services, which is a document that, if you've looked at one, it's long, and it talks about all the different types of services that they will provide. And in the plan, they have to say when they plan to provide those services. They have to provide them in a reasonable period of time. Generally speaking, the law says you have 7 years. So sometimes.
So if they don't in 7 years, do you know what happens? It just goes back to county, or
No, it does not.
they're just left out?
The property owners can try to address that with the city. Additionally, if there's a new annexation, property owners could challenge that annexation, saying that they are in violation of plan of services. But it would be incumbent upon those property owners to say that the city's in violation of the plan of services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak from the audience, please? Commissioner Alford.
Going back to this referendum, that could be done every 2 years. So if I applied, if I'm in an owner right now and I'm wanting to get into the city and I want to go the referendum route, does it have to be voted on a referendum during a voting or period of time, like 2 years before the next election?
That's probably a better question for Fran, but I believe it says just the next election. So it could be placed on any, as long as Fran can get it on the ballot, it could be placed on the next election, whatever that election may be.
And who would pay for that?
The city is responsible for paying for any charges associated with the referendum itself.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Well, next meeting will be the work session, February the 26th at 7 p.m. here at the courthouse. Upcoming events, Farmers Market Committee today, immediately following the commission in the commission conference room. Road Committee, February 22nd at 1 p.m. at the Road Department. East-West Connector Plan Meeting, February the 21st, 4 p.m., Old Woolen Mill.